Hello everyone and welcome to another video. This is my first video for a while that is not related to my film project, so that is exciting. And there will be some speed painting going on in the background. What I'm working on here is a commissioned piece of some Baldur's Gate 3 characters, and there's actually a character in Baldur's Gate called the Urge, and it's very suitable for the topic that we're gonna be talking about today. Do you, as a creative individual, feel the urge or the compulsion to create? And what I'm talking about here is not the act of creating or even the thought of creating, but the feeling. Because I've asked around about this topic, and either I'm asking the question incorrectly, or it's not an easy question to answer, but a lot of people answer sort of like, well, I create because I like it, or I create because, I think it's fun, or something. But I guess that sort of goes without saying that we do things because we like them, or whatever. But what I'm looking for here is a bit more, it's deeper, I guess. Let me try to explain this on a more personal level. For probably my entire life, I've had this feeling inside, and it is very hard to explain. It's sort of a feeling of fire and overwhelm, and sort of feels like anxiety in some way too, I guess. And it's just a very intense, strong feeling in sort of the chest area. And this is not a medical thing, I'm pretty sure. It's just a feeling. And it just feels like if I don't, draw something or model something or create something, I'm just going to burst. And it definitely is like an urge, a compulsion, a desire to create that just becomes overwhelming. And then when I do sit down and create, I get into flow state, and that feeling just lifts and flows, and it feels wonderful. And then I'm satisfied, but not for very long. Because the feeling comes back every time, and it never goes away entirely. But it's not, I've described it as overwhelming and almost like anxiety, but I would say this feeling is not, it's not a negative feeling, it's just a very intense feeling. And it's just a big ball of energy that wants to be released. And I pretty much feel this feeling constantly. This creative urge, so to say. And I've thought about it many times, and because, I don't know, it's just very interesting, and I've been very curious about how other people feel about it. So I wanted to do a deep dive into this, see what, the big thinkers have thought about it, and what other people around me have thought about it. What you have thought about it. And this might sound really weird, but I've been sort of wondering if this is how people who want kids, because I've never had that feeling myself, people who really want kids, is this like a similar feeling that they have? And after doing a little bit of research, and it's really interesting that I had that thought, and we'll get to that in a bit. So I was looking around on the internet, as you do, and I found this really interesting paper written by Agnieszka, I can't say it, I'm so sorry. I'll put her name here on the screen, and I'm gonna link the paper down below if you want to read it. It's about 14 pages or so, and it's very interesting if you're into this topic. And the paper is called The Compulsion to Create, Definition and Genesis of the Phenomenon. And in this paper, she goes through this very thoroughly, and she also talks about, well, what I call the big thinkers of our times, I guess, what they've been saying about it, because this is apparently something that a lot of them have been trying to figure out. And it's probably better if you read it for yourself. I'm just gonna try to explain it in how I understood it, there might be some factual errors here. Please correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, but here we go. Sigmund Freud. We all know who that is at this point. He thought that this urge stemmed from the person having unresolved trauma that they sort of needed to express. And it seemed like a lot of the different theories on this, like most of them don't agree with him at all, and they think that his theory is way too simple. For example, we got Carl Jung, which sort of went another direction, in which he thought that the artists were sort of controlled by a superhuman force. That the artist somehow was chosen, and in so the art created the artist, not the other way around. That the artists pretty much don't have a choice but to make art. And this might sound really crazy, but I do understand where this theory would come from, because it sort of feels that way to me. Because I don't understand where this feeling is coming from. It's there and it won't go away. It might as well be superhuman, you know? So what Jung was saying is that the artist is the vessel for which art will be created from. And this is where it's so interesting, because right around here, the text started comparing it to being a mother, creating a child. And I'm like, this is exactly what I was like sort of thinking about. And I mean, creation is creation, I guess. But then we have another thinker called Otto Rank. And he was sort of like in between Freud and Jung, in which he didn't really think it was some sort of superhuman thing, but more like that we as creative people had the fantastic abilities to change things, to create things for ourselves, but also the limitations and needs and shortcomings of just being a human. So in creating, we could unlearn old mechanisms that would cause suffering, and sort of try to transition into a higher level of functioning. So, as I said, it's sort of like in between Freud and Jung, in which we're trying to overcome our traumas and trying to transcend humanness also by creating. Otto also wrote a book called Art and Artist, Creative Urge and Personality Development. I haven't had the chance to get my hands on this book, but I'd probably be very interested to read it. So you guys know that exists if you want to read more as well. And after looking into this, reading about it, hearing about it, I got more and more interested in also hearing from my peers how they feel about all of this, if they feel it at all. So I asked around in all of my Discord servers and on Instagram and such, and it seems like a lot of people have this feeling, and they all describe it somewhat similar. Someone described the feeling as if they were filled with bouncing balls, and they're just bouncing around like crazy, and it won't stop until they can let them out. Someone says it feels like warmth and glow, and sort of like a faucet that has high pressure water, and it's sort of almost overflowing. It's very intense. And a lot of people said that it becomes more prominent when they feel down. The funniest answer by far, but also very accurate, was that a friend of mine called it like soul poop. And I'll let you interpret that as you wish, but it's pretty accurate. I also asked how it feels then if they can't create. What happens to the feeling? And some of the things that people said to me was that they would feel very unsatisfied with their life. Some people felt angry. They sort of felt like they had withdrawals from creating, which is, I can definitely resonate with that. And someone said that they feel like something is really missing from their life and they feel lost. And after all of this, I really do feel like all creative people have this feeling to some capacity. Maybe we're just experiencing it differently. And obviously some people don't experience it at all as well, even though all humans are creative to a certain point. And this is one of those things that there's probably never gonna be an answer for, but it's fun speculating and talking about it. Do you feel it? How does it feel for you? What happens if you can't create? Have a good think about it and leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear about it. To end all of this, I want to read a little, I guess you could call it a poem, but it doesn't rhyme. It's a little short text that I wrote many years ago. And this is me trying to make sense of this feeling, and this is probably the best way I could describe what I'm feeling about this whole thing. It fills my lungs with every breath and flows out of me into the world, like hot fire out of the mouth of the dragon. I am still unable to pinpoint the exact purpose of what manifests inside of me. All I know is that when I create, the pressure subsides, even if it's just for a little bit. With each stroke of a brush or line of a pen, balance is restored. Like puzzle pieces fit together bit by bit to finally reveal the bigger picture. I feel it pressing against my chest. Maybe it has established itself close to my heart as a constant reminder. A marker of what I could be and what I am, pushing me forward, refusing to let me wave the white flag. I keep referring to it as a separate entity from myself, but I am well aware of how we are intertwined. It may feel like a conspiring beast hiding beneath my exterior, but he is me and I am him, internally bound through ambition and the desire to follow calling, to fulfill my function, whatever that may be in the end. As I've come to realize our unity, I also must come to the conclusion that if this fiery monster and I are one and the same, then I myself am the beast. What comes with this realization is that the one who has given me reassurance, confidence, and power to venture forward towards and through goals, obstacles, and suffering hadn't been some magical inner force that came and went, not some temporary spell that bewitched me as the stars aligned perfectly in the sky. It was the beast that had fought all along. It was me.